Hello there you guys, and welcome back to the channel, or welcome to the channel if it's your first time here. My name is Animal Introvert, and in this video I'll be turning this 5 or so gallon jar into a luscious tropical themed terrarium. Now it was really hard to do this, and it took a long time. This thing has been nearly a year in the making, so please show your support. It was also really difficult to pull off some of the things you see in this video, so again, please show your support. But anyways, let's go ahead and get started. Before we can make the terrarium happen, we have to make the soil happen. So I'm going to be combining some coconut fibers, orchid bark, sphagnum moss, and activated carbon, and also some aquarium sand. And I'm going to be mixing all these things up in some buckets. But first I need to find them. Ah, yes. Buckets. So now we need to fill the buckets up with some water so that we can dissolve our cocoa fiber brick. I will not be using all of this brick, at least I do not believe. But we also have another bucket for our sphagnum moss, which we need to put in and kind of mix around, let sit for I think it's like 20 to 30 minutes or so, and then after that time it's good to be used in the terrarium. But before it is good at all, we need to get it wetted, and then we need to mix it around a bit once it is in the water, just to make sure that all of the moss kind of gets, all of the different fibers kind of get soaked. And this actually does grow to larger than it is. We're also going to be needing some pebbles and some fiber net meshing to create our false bottom. So now I'm just going to go ahead and pour in our gravel or our pebbles. Where you get them from doesn't really matter, as long as they don't have any chemicals in them and are not harmful to whatever you're putting in the terrarium. Not that anything should be getting into the false bottom, but it is always a possibility. Now, I cannot stress this enough. If you're going to do a terrarium, please put a false bottom in. It's not a necessary step, but definitely helps the integrity of the terrarium, helps it last longer, because what a false bottom does is it separates the water. Excess water will fall through the mesh, but the soil cannot. And so the water will collect in the bottom, in the rocks, where there is no soil, which I'm mixing up now. So I have all the different components in different ratios, and I'm just going to go ahead and I have them in the bucket once again, and I've sped it up to 2 times speed, which is going to be a theme for a lot of this video. And I'm going to go ahead and mix all the soil components together so we have a nice, good terrarium substrate. And when you're done mixing, it should look something like this, where all of the components are equally mixed together. It should be hard to discern them, but of course the sphagnum moss is the largest ratio, so of course we can see the sphagnum moss a lot more than the rest. But now we have our mesh, and it's in there, and we have also, we're about to pour in the soil, and now the soil is in the jar, and now all we have to do is wait for my stupid self, my procrastinating self. We have to just give him 11 months. So what was 11 months for me is about to be just a couple of seconds for you. But the soil looks really nice. This is supposedly what it should look like if you use the mix that I used. "11 months go by, and I finally strapped down and got the plants that I need. Now, I cannot remember all the names for all of these, but I will be putting them on screen as you see the plants on the screen. So I'll be putting those up, but now let's look at whatever else I used in this terrarium. So now that we've explained, or I have explained all the plants, with the cameraman's help, we will be now showing you the different tools that we will be using in this operation. So first we have extended shovel.
Indeed.
with a bit of help from Extendy Rake.
Indeed.
Then we have a spike-tail culture.
Zoom, 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 zoom.
We also have a stick.
Nice stick.
Tweezers. The giant jar. And with that out of the way, we can move on to getting the plants out of the pot, so that we can eventually get them into the jar. What you want to do is whenever you're putting a plant in a terrarium, you always want to try and get rid of as much dirt as possible, and you certainly don't want to leave it in the pot. Not that that was even an option for us, because the lid of the jar was so small that we could not have fit any of these pots in the jar, even if we wanted to, unless we wanted to cut them up, which we don't want plastic in the terrarium, because over time it would degrade and then leach pollutants into the terrarium. Plastic does degrade, but does so slowly and harmfully. Microplastics, what a pain. But that's a whole nother thing. Getting back on track, first you want to get the plants out of the pot without injuring or like breaking the plants in any way. You don't want to disrupt the plants too much, although I guess the next step, which you could see on the screen now that I am doing, is taking the plants off, separating the plants in the dirt, because you might have multiple little clumps of plants whenever you do this. So you want to get everything all nice and separated like this, so that you can make the most use out of the plants that you have. And then comes the not so fun part. Well, shortly after we got some of the plants done, we started working on the hardscape, and you could see it mostly done here. But now comes the not so fun part. Oh, getting all of these plants, or at least most of them, in through that tiny little lid. Also, we decided to keep the Syngonium americium out of the jar because it would just have grown way too big. When they're full grown, they're way too tall and way too wide. They have too large of a girth. But now we have the plants, and we can start putting them into the jar. This is the fern that we don't know the exact species of, but we know it's a fern because it looks like one. And the reason why I didn't put the scientific name for this fern is because A, we don't know what specific species it is, and B, there are multiple genuses that make up the fern family, and we don't know which one it came from. But anyways, now you get to watch us struggle. You can go ahead and skip ahead, but I mean, you can. All that you're really gonna miss is more of this and some music over it. That's basically all that would miss. But anyways, my cameraman, he insisted that the roots be covered by dirt, which made this whole process a lot more painful, which is why it took us so long. If that was not insisted, then we would have just left the roots out, and they probably would have died, sadly. And we would have been wondering, oh, what did we do wrong? And then we'd probably bring it up and be like, oh, we should have done that. But we see the other side of the story too. But anyways, now we have the Hemigraphis raponda, I believe. Yes, I think. But anyways, you could skip ahead. You can watch us struggle. Doesn't really matter to me. I mean, I wouldn't want to sit and watch this. But anyways, I'll just go ahead and be quiet, and I'll let it play through. our mosses. We decided not to use one moss, and which was the moss that we don't know about. It's doing really great in my fish tank, but instead we decided to use Java moss, which you can see me putting in the tank here. And then shortly after the Java moss, we switched over and we put in the final plant, which would be the Ficus puma crucifolia, or the oak leaf creeping fig, as it can be more commonly called. So this would be the final plant that we put in, then followed by springtails, pillbugs, the spraying of the container, and then it would be finished. But I'll go ahead and be quiet and I'll let you watch through that. Just so you know, this does not hurt the springtails at all, pouring them in like this, because they're so small, gravity affects them differently. But now, for the finishing touch on this terrarium. And here it is, finally, almost a year in the making. The 5-gallon terrarium is finally done. Yes. Time to go on to another project that'll take me even longer. Just kidding. But I really do hope that you all enjoyed this video. It was a bit of a pain to make, but seeing it on my counter where it is, or bedstand where it is now, as you can see it on this video, that's where it is now. And it looks super good, and I'm so glad that I finally buckled down and did this, and I'm so thankful for help from my 2 cameramen, who I will keep anonymous, and as well as the friend, who was one of the cameramen. I'm so thankful to them, and I'm also so thankful for your all support. So please continue supporting this channel. I know I ask this a lot, but if you enjoyed the video, please like the video. This was great to make. I was able to kind of enhance my skills and work through this tough situation. And also, I really just hope that you enjoyed the process. But if you liked the video, then please hit the like button. It just makes sense. And if you like other videos like this, then please consider subscribing to this YouTube channel and also hitting the notification bell, because it would help you stay up to date on all my future uploads. Also, please comment on this video. What are some ideas that you'd like to see in other things? I have some big things planned, but what are some other things that you all would like to see? And also, please share this video with your friends, enemies, and frenemies. I'd really appreciate it. My goal for this year is 50 subscribers by the end of the year. I know it might sound like a little bit, when I say a little bit, I mean a lot for me, but please help me reach my goal. Thank you so much for watching. You just don't know how much this means to me, all the support that you will give. But thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video, and I'm Lunchbird out. Give me this.
Wait, how does it work? So you said there's gonna be bloopers, right?